How much risk? How much risk should you be taking on each trade in the Forex market? That's a very important question. It's heavily debated in the Forex world, with all the educators and gurus all having their different opinions on it. I think it's fair to say that we've most probably all read the 2% rule, where they say you should never risk more than 2% on any one trade. Some gurus will tell you 5%, you should never risk more than 5%. I've actually seen some in the past saying you should never risk more than 10%, but there you go. This is absolute nonsense. It's hogwash. This is an arbitrary number and it means absolutely nothing. Now, this is a professional trading course and I don't want to insult you by saying you should only risk 2% of your account on each individual trade. It absolutely means nothing. I want you to think about this in terms of what you're actually doing here, and I want you to think of it in terms of context of these 4 main points. And once you've established these 4 main points in your head, and you've clear of them, it's only then you're going to be able to answer the question of how much risk you should be taking on each trade. Now, the first thing you need to consider is your appetite for risk. Okay, that basically means how comfortable are you with that risk. You know, when you're trading Forex, or indeed any trading entity, you should always be thinking about the risks first before you think about the rewards. So, what is your appetite for risk? Well, you may take a strategy that has a historical maximum drawdown of, say, 20%. You've analysed the potential rewards and you think, yeah, you can run with that. So you've got a risk appetite, but you're prepared to accept a 20% drawdown. Well, imagine you start trading this strategy. You remember the coin toss, the probability lessons that we talked about. We have no idea when you're going to have your losing streak. You could have your losing streak right off the bat. So you start trading this strategy. You know it's got an historical maximum drawdown of 20%. You've said to yourself you're happy with that, and bang, off the bat you start losing money. All of a sudden you're down 10% on that particular strategy. You've lost $1,000 now on a $10,000 trading account. Are you going to continue with that strategy? Are you going to start tweaking the strategy? Are you going to start changing the rules? Are you going to start ditching your trading plan? Then you carry on trading and you're down 15% now. You're down $1,500 and you're thinking, gosh, am I going to continue with this? You throw out the strategy, you buy a new one, and you go around that vicious circle. So you weren't actually really happy with the 20% appetite that you put yourself, labelled yourself as beforehand. So you've got to be comfortable with the appetite for risk that you have established for yourself and be true to yourself on that. Now, the other thing I want you to think about are the strategy components. You remember this? We spoke about the expectancy of a particular strategy. That's the win to loss ratio, the average size of the wins and the average size of the losses. You put all that together and you get the expectancy of a particular strategy. Okay, so how do you get the answers to your strategy components and the expectancy question? Well, of course, then you go to the back testing. Now, back testing is very useful because it gives you the confidence when you're in the drawdown phase to continue with the strategy, because you've seen it happen before in the back test. You know that it's perfectly acceptable for that strategy to continue with it. Now, of course, there's various ways you can do back testing these days. You can do it through automation. Of course, you can just go back on the charts manually. Sometimes it's the best way to do it, and look at the past historical price action and test your strategy that way. But that's not the complete picture. Okay, we now have tools of prediction. Now, this basically allows us to see the extremes of a particular strategy, what the worst case scenario is. And it's only when you run your strategy through these tools of prediction that you can actually see the extremes, whether you're happy with that risk, prepared to take that risk, and it's only then can you answer this question, how much risk you should be taking. Now, when we get into further videos and we're talking about strategy itself, we'll actually put all this in and come up with a decent answer to how much risk you should be placing on each trade, and throwing out this arbitrary 2% rule because it means absolutely nothing. You've got to do much more analysis before you answer that question.